She was laughing, really laughing, when Asher slid the bag of chips through the parking booth window. She had no idea the man handing her snacks was the reason she couldn't see his face. And neither did he. Not yet.
Hey, Mr.
She walked into his booth on a Tuesday night, holding half a sandwich and calling him by the wrong name.
Mr. Yan, the heater in Lot B is broken again.
She said, already unwrapping the foil. Asher opened his mouth, then closed it. The old attendant must have been her person, whoever he was, because she said his name the way people say the names of places they grew up in. Easy, automatic, like she already belonged there. He didn't correct her. He just said, "I'll look into it," and took the half of the sandwich she pushed through the window. That was how it started. She came back the next night, and the night after that. He learned her rhythm before he learned much else about her. The way she counted her steps from the curb to his window. The way she tilted her head when she was listening hard. The way she laughed with her whole face and then covered her mouth like she was embarrassed by how much she meant it. He started narrating the show playing on his phone so she could follow along. She started bringing 2 sandwiches. Nobody planned any of it. Some nights, they barely talked. She'd lean against the booth frame, and he'd hold his phone up so the audio carried. And the city would go quiet around them, like it was giving them the space to figure out what this was. He wasn't good at words. She was good at enough for both of them. Then one night, she reached through the window and put her hand over his, just rested it there in the dark.
I can tell you're not him, you know? You never were.
He didn't pull away. He didn't explain. He just turned his hand over so her palm was against his. And they stayed like that until her ride came. Neither of them named what it was. They didn't need to. Then the phone call changed everything. He heard it through the booth window 3 weeks later. Her voice dropping in a way he hadn't heard before. The cheerfulness she wore like armor, going thin and brittle at the edges. She was talking to a doctor. He caught enough, faster than expected. The remaining vision, a surgical window, and a number that landed in the air between them like something physical. More than he made in 2 years of night shifts. More than she'd saved in 4 years of telemarketing calls. He watched her hang up, straighten her spine, and put the smile back on like she was tucking in a shirt. He said nothing. She said nothing. They watched the last 20 minutes of the show on his phone, and she laughed at the right parts. And he laughed a half second behind her, the way you laugh when your chest is full of something that isn't joy. That night, after she left, he pulled a box out from under the booth seat. He hadn't opened it in years. Inside, a pair of boxing wraps, stiff with old sweat, coiled tight the way he'd left them the night he walked away from the sport. He held them for a long time without unrolling them. He started making calls the next morning. A fighting license requires paperwork. The paperwork requires a record check. The record check pulled up everything, including a traffic incident report from 4 years ago. His name, a date, an intersection 3 blocks from a movie theater on a wet November night. A car running a red light. 2 fatalities. 1 survivor, a young woman, 23, who lost her sight on impact. He read it 3 times. His hands were shaking by the second read, and completely still by the third. The way hands go still when the body runs out of ways to react. Aurora was asleep in his apartment. She'd fallen asleep on his couch 2 hours ago, her shoes still on, her phone face down on her chest. He had always told himself he didn't know whose life he wrecked that night. He'd told himself that for 4 years, and he'd almost believed it. Now he had her name, and she was 12 feet away. If you were Asher and you'd just found out the truth, would you confess to Aurora or disappear without a word? Drop your answer in the comments below, because what he chose next cost him everything. The note was already on the booth window when she arrived the next morning. 3 sentences, no explanation. The surgery is paid for. Don't ask how. I'll be back. She stood there with her fingers pressed flat against the paper, reading it the way she read everything now. Slowly, close, the letters blurring at their edges. She called his phone, straight to voicemail. She called again, same silence. He was already gone. The venue he'd chosen wasn't the kind of place that had a name above the door. Concrete walls, 1 bare bulb swinging over the center of the floor. The man across from him was a full head taller and had the kind of stillness that comes from hurting people so many times it stops feeling like effort. There was no referee to stop it early. Nobody was there to make sure Asher walked out the same way he walked in. He fought anyway. Panel by panel, the hits came. A right hand that snapped his head back. A knee that buckled him sideways. The floor rushing up once, and then twice. He got up both times. His left eye swelled shut somewhere in the second round. His ribs cracked on a body shot that would take 3 months to stop hurting. But he kept moving forward. That was the only strategy he had. Keep moving forward until the other man got tired of hitting him. He won, barely, in the way that winning sometimes looks indistinguishable from losing. The money transferred. The surgery was scheduled. Aurora went in on a Tuesday. She came out seeing. The first thing she did was walk to the parking lot on Clement Street, still in her discharge clothes, her eyes adjusting to a world that had been dark for 4 years. The morning light was thin and gold and sharp in the way that only early light is. She stood at the booth window, empty. The stool inside was bare. His phone charger was gone from the outlet. Someone had taped a handwritten sign to the glass. Attendant on leave. She put her hand against the glass. She could see her own reflection for the first time in years, and he was not behind her in it. Months passed, then more months. She stopped calling the number that no longer worked. She started moving, the way people move when they're learning to carry something heavy, not by putting it down, but by building the muscle for it. She trained as a rehabilitation aide. She took a job at a center on the east side of the city, helping patients relearn how to navigate a world that had shifted under them. She was good at it. She knew what it felt like to move through a room by memory, by sound, by the way air changes near a wall. 3 years after the surgery, on an ordinary Wednesday afternoon, she was guiding a new patient down the main hallway. Hands-on work. She took his hands to demonstrate the motion, the way she always did with new arrivals. Palms up, fingers loose. Feel the space before you enter it. She stopped. The hands, the tension he held in his knuckles, like a man bracing for impact even at rest. The ridge of scar tissue on the left thumb. She had traced that scar once, in the dark of a parking booth, while a TV show played tinny from a phone speaker, and the city went quiet around them. She didn't look up.
Asher.
He said nothing. She said it again, quieter.
Asher.
The way you say a name when you already know the answer, and you're just giving someone the space to admit it. He exhaled. One long, broken breath. The kind that sounds like 4 years of held silence finally giving way. She still didn't look up. She just kept her hands in his. He spent years running from what he'd done. She spent years becoming someone who could forgive it. Subscribe for more stories like this, and watch the next one on screen.